Hi, welcome back to McCarthy Performance. Today we'll be getting back on the 565. We're going to check the combustion chamber to the dome to make sure there's adequate clearance. So we'll be going over how I do that. We have the head studs in the block right now. I'm going to check it without the head gasket. That'll assure me that I have plenty of clearance. With the aluminum rods and being that this is a race engine, not that actually that matters a lot, but most your race type engines or high performance engines will have a dome on the piston. So we got to make sure that that dome clears the whole chamber. Now, the heads that we're using are a set of Dart 360s that have been worked over quite a bit. They have some history to them. They've been worked over. We'll just put it like that. So we have to check the combustion chambers. When I did assemble them prior to having the block, I noticed that some of the chambers weren't exactly the same, meaning somebody's probably done some welding on them or done some work on them that wasn't very careful with the die grinder. So we have to check them. And we're probably going to open them up a little bit. Now they are together. I would prefer them not being together to do this, but we're not removing, hopefully, too much. So we will use the head gasket if that be the case of opening them up. We'll use a set of dowels that I've made that'll go into the heads, and they'll locate off the firing rings on the head gaskets, and we'll open them just almost to that point if need be. So we're going to check a couple pistons on each side. So we're going to get number 8 up to the top, and we'll use some Play-Doh around the dome, and we'll set the head down and we'll see how it fits. We'll do the number 2, and we'll go from there. Okay, we checked ahead. Um, we have a little bit, not much to take off. Now, why didn't I scribe these on the block? Well, I didn't have the block when I had the heads. Um, I kind of knew we might have to do this. So what I have going on is I've put it in a head bag. I've duct taped or taped everything off. So, and I'll blow everything off, and all the ports and bolt holes are all plugged, taped off. So there's really no way dust can get into the valve springs. And not that this is any good excuse, but it's aluminum anyways. But we'll definitely make sure that they're real clean. And the seals that I put on these heads when I did them was a one-shot seal. It's really hard to take them off without destroying them because of the springs we have on here. We have to use a steel-cladded non-inner rubber seal around the guide. So usually on them, once you put them on, they're not going to come off. So this isn't a real big deal. It's not ideal, but sometimes you got to think out of the box. If you see down here, we've got to take about 60 thousandths back where I scribed it, and I used a chromatic head gasket, the same ones that we'll be using on the engine. So we'll blend this back, and if you can see, some of these chambers aren't quite the same, and this is really where everything is going to come into play. This engine was either a small bore, big block at one time, or a flat top where this wasn't much of an issue. So I've done a little bit of blending on these because a couple of these, like I said, they had some pretty deep gouges in them with a die grinder. So we're going to carefully bring that back to that first line, and we're going to then check it again. Unfortunately, you have to take the bag off of it when you check it. So what I'll probably do is I'll probably put the chromatic gasket back on it and check the chromatic gasket for clearance. And we'll go from there. And what I mean that is you got a little bit of wiggle room on these. So you want to make sure that the head's setting on the block where it's going to lay. You can move the head gasket a little bit either way, this way, that way. So you kind of want to make sure that you've got, you're not past the gasket firing ring, the sealing area, but you don't, if you're ahead of it, you got to make sure if we're ahead of it, we're not hitting the dome. If you understand that, I hope you do. But, so the gasket's helping me lay this out, but ultimately, when it sets on the engine, where it sets, we got to make sure that we've got room there. So I'll probably try to push the head forward and get a good imprint on this. It's so close, we'll have to check it, but it might be a situation where I'm going to check each combustion chamber. That's kind of really the right way to do it. And you know what? That's probably what I'm going to do. I'm going to check each single one to make sure that we have the exact same clearance, even though I scribed it with the head gasket and the locators. It's that close. So I was talking about seals, and this is the seal that I'm running on these heads. So you really don't have very much chance of getting them off without destroying them. You can leave them on and you can kind of scoot the valves past them, but you know what? I'm just going to say that I'm lazy and I'd rather bag them. This is a typical seal which has some rubber around it, but these, once they go on, you usually can get these off if you're very careful. These, not so much. So we're going to blend that back a little bit, and we'll just hit it with sanding roll and call it good. video. Maybe I'm going to check it again. Get in there with a sanding drum and touch them up, but they're looking pretty damn close. So a little more on that one. Taper into the chamber, but we want to make sure that we're not just touching the edge of it. We want to blend it back into the chamber. So we didn't take a lot off. You didn't see a lot of aluminum dust flying. It's a minimum amount. We're going to sand them. We'll blow these out. We'll wipe them down. We'll hopefully they'll fit. I thought I'd leave you this little pointer that I found out a while back when I used to do a lot of work with sanding drums and Tootsie Rolls, even when you're carbides, when you're using them. When you go in with the diameter, whatever the diameter carbide, it'd be, whether it be this big or something, you know, small, you want to always keep it moving, and you don't want to stop it in the same spot because you'll dig a trench. The bigger the diameter, the more trench you can dig with them, the wider it'll be. A lot of times I'll cross it, and that'll allow you to, especially on this edge, to blend the edge smooth. If it's choppy, it's because you're not laying it cross. You want to cross it. So I'll show you if you don't understand. I'm not very good at explaining things. The Canadians are trying to kill us in Michigan with smoke, so my sinuses are buzzing right now. But anyways, you want to go in there like this. If you start picking up little waves and you don't particularly care for them, you set the drum sander on its side or whatever, carbide, roll lock, Tootsie Roll. That's going to help you blend it flat. I said roll lock, but I didn't mean that. But I guess you can get some fibrous wheels that are like a drum. So anything that's cylindrical and it's a drum, and you get into making some ruts, just cross it, and it'll usually take the ruts out. believe we got the head good right now. The combustion chambers look really good right now as far as should be all right on clearance. We're going to tape it. I'm going to take it out of the bag, excuse me. I taped it all up. I just wanted to show you what I did. So there shouldn't be anything in the head when I peel this off. But anyways, I'm running out of content. I had a memory stick. It's corrupted. It don't work. So this video, I got to be careful. I don't want to go too far and not be able to start back editing content and start making it really choppy. Well, not any more choppier than it is. But anyhow, so when I checked this and I scribed it, number 8 was the one that was the smallest, and that was the one I checked, and that one was the one that was giving me some problems. It was close. So they're all pretty much the same radius here. I believe we're going to be okay. I'm going to check number 8. I don't know if I'll be able to check all 4. I will check all 4. I won't be able to do it on this video. I just don't have the room. So we'll get going on checking number 8. Okay, we're going to put a little bit of Play-Doh here, and I've had this for a long time, and if you put a little bit of oil in it, seems like it lasts longer. But we got the dome here, the piston, and it's pretty close, so we're going to just take a couple spots and we're going to put it on there to get an idea where the chamber is. Now, this piston is 10 thousandths in the hole, but you know, when you measure the piston, you want to make sure there's rock. So, you know, you can push, when you get it all the way up to the top dead center, you want to make sure that this part of the piston is the same as this part. Never assume that this back part here, there's just a little bit of it there. It's probably not going to be an issue, but you never know. You never assume anything. That's why we're using the Play-Doh here. This will give us an idea, but that should be good. Put some right there where the valve release is, and this part here, we want to make sure that that part of the chamber is not going to hit. We probably want to put 2 spots right there. Okay, so we should have a pretty good readout. There's a little bit of tape on the head. I know when I set the head down, it sounds like I'm just slamming it down, but that's the mic on the phone. It ain't going to hurt the head as long as you're setting it down flat. And a lot of guys don't put the head studs in them, but I do. And it ain't that big of a deal if you just sight down one. Make sure your shirt's not in there or your gut. So we're all the way down. We know this one's all the way to the top of the top dead center. So we're going to take it off. And get a finger hole in here. Okay, looks pretty good. We're clearing here. Clearing probably by about 40 thousandths. You can measure it, but plenty good there. We're close, but we'll have to check them all. Right there, we're close. Probably got 40 thousandths. Probably will shim the head up 30 thousandths with a couple feeler gauges and check it. I know what, of course I know what thickness of the head gasket is, but the dome is on a taper, so the further the head is up, the more room we'll have. It clears, it'd probably be all right, but I'm going to put some 30 thousandths feeler gauges on this deck, and I'm going to measure that right there because it is close. I'm not going to lie about that. I might have to go in and take more out of the head, which I don't particularly care to do. But I don't want the pistons crashing into the chambers either. So we'll mark that. I'll put some feeler gauges on the deck and we'll try it again. Okay, we got some shims. I was going to use feeler gauges and I thought, why not valve spring shims? So it's 30 thousandths. So we're going to set the head back down. You can see, if you didn't see very good before, this is where I'm laying out the Play-Doh. We're going to set the head down one more time. And if it even looks close, I'm just going to cut the chambers out. Now, I said that I'm using a Cometic gasket on these, and I laid it out, and I did. And the Cometic gasket that I was using wasn't exactly the same size as what I'm going to use. It's a 4/630. I wanted a little bit of cushion, but I didn't want to take it all the way to that final mark, but I might have to. So I don't want you to think I'm not telling you the whole story, but I just didn't feel comfortable taking it out that far. But if I have to, I will, and I might have to. There wasn't, I think that was a 4.530 bore Cometic, somewhere around there. It was just a little bit over 4.500, and I thought that dome wasn't that angle on that dome wasn't so steep, but it is. So we're going to set the head back down and see what it looks like. Okay, I scribed it for the final bore firing ring size for the 4/630. You can see where I had it. My safety margin, not a hell of a lot. Right in here we get into a little bit of trouble where it's rubbing. I scratched it so you could see what the difference is. Ain't much, is it? But I need every bit of that. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to trim this area out all the way to that last scribe mark. And I'll get going on that. Okay, you can see where the arrows are. Maybe you can't see it too good. Let's see if I can get it to focus. Probably as good as it's going to be. Anyways, there just isn't enough there to make me feel comfortable. Everywhere else isn't bad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rebag the head, which I don't really particularly care for. You can see that when I set it down without a gasket, it was hitting right there. So this is the exhaust side that it needs to be taken care of on. Everything looks good. This looks fine. That's fine. That's fine. Right here. And I'm going to have to cut this head open quite a bit more than really what I thought I needed to do. But I don't want it hitting, so bad things happen when the pistons hit the combustion chambers. So we're going to have to put it back in the bag, tape it up, take more out of the combustion chamber. Like I said, I wanted a safety margin there. I had a little bit smaller head gasket and Cometic, I scribed it. I'm going to go right to the firing ring on the 4/630, And that's going to be that. So I don't know how far we'll get. Obviously, I'm going to clean this up and then it's probably going to be okay. But I just want to, I know there's probably some people saying, well, why didn't you put it together and mock it all up? Well, I usually do that. But the rods showed up at a different time, and the pistons showed up, and the heads were here, and the blocks showed up. So, yeah, in a perfect world, you would pre-assemble everything. This isn't a major deal. Would I have caught it, pre-assembled it? Yeah, probably, but I would have had to gone in and cut all these combustion chambers anyways, and the only way that I'd really been able to check it is when the engine's together. So could I save myself a little bit of time? In a perfect world, yes, I could have. Is this the ideal way to do it? Well, maybe it is, maybe it ain't. But I'll know for a fact that each chamber will clear the piston. So I kind of showed you what we're going through on this. I guess we're going to end this video here because I just don't think I'll have enough. And I don't want to edit the content. If you enjoy my videos, hit the like button, subscribe. Doesn't cost nothing. You'd be doing me a favor. If you want me to hang around and make any more of these videos, that's what you got to do, guys. If you're wondering, them are titanium valves, and I do believe I have a video of me assembling the 565 and going through the heads. So these are 360 darts. I believe there's a couple videos on these heads. Thanks for watching.